In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and merciful, I welcome you all in today's session. Today we're going to start chapter number 5 from the book of Fred David. And the title of the chapter is Strategies in Action. Let's start from chapter objectives. The first objective is discuss the value of establishing long-term objectives. Second, identify 16 types of business strategies. Then identify numerous examples of organizations pursuing different types of strategies. Discuss guidelines when particular strategies are most appropriate to pursue. After that, we'll be talking about Porter's 5 generic strategies, which would be obviously the extension of the 3 basic generic strategies. Then the 6th objective would be describe strategic management in non-profit, governmental, and small organizations. We'll be focusing upon joint ventures. We'll discuss balanced scorecard. The 9th objective would be compare and contrast financial with strategic objectives. Then we'll be discussing the levels of strategies in large versus small firms. Explain the first mover advantages concept. And then discuss recent trends in outsourcing. Along with that, discuss strategies for competing in turbulent high velocity markets. These are the basic concerns we are having in this chapter. We start our discussion from the nature of long-term objectives. As you all know that objectives should always be SMART. So that is the starting argument from your author, that objectives should be quantitative, measurable, realistic, understandable, challenging, hierarchical, obtainable, and congruent with organizational units. So these are the main characteristics of objectives. In addition to those characteristics, objectives should also provide directional, and that direction is no doubt in terms of quantitative values, because qualitative direction is more defined by vision and mission statements. Then objectives aid in evaluation, that how much you have performed in terms of profitability, productivity, and satisfaction of the stakeholders. Objectives also help us to define and establish priorities, that which objectives we should be following first and which objectives should be on the second and third step. By defining objectives, we can reduce uncertainty in our working. We can minimize conflicts, and objectives can also help us aid in both the allocation of resources and the design of jobs. Related to your FIPs, remember that you have to define objectives at business level, and then you have to define objectives at functional level as well. And there should be a synchronization, a patternization, a congruence between the business level objectives and the functional level objectives. Now, when we talk about long-term objectives, the long-term objectives are necessary, and we set those objectives at corporate level, divisional level, and functional level. But obviously, we talk about these 3 levels when we are dealing with corporations. But if you are running a standalone business, in that case, we'll be talking about business level objectives and then functional level objectives, like the objectives of marketing, finance, HR, production. So in terms of corporate level, divisional level, and functional level objectives, remember that all these objectives should be in the same direction, should be in the same context, should be talking about in same terms. And when you achieve your functional level objectives, that would be an indication that your divisional objectives are being achieved. And when you achieve your divisional objectives, that is an indication that corporate objectives are being achieved. So that is how the hierarchy of objectives can also be defined. Now, objectives are of two types, majorly financial and strategic. And we can also add up a third type in objectives, and that would be the operational objectives. But operational objectives are more like operational objectives related to production. So we can say that there are two main types of objectives. One is financial, another is strategic. The financial objective can be defined as outcomes that improve a firm's financial performance. And the strategic objectives would be outcomes that strengthen a firm's competitiveness and long-term market position. And obviously, when we have to talk about productivity, so we'll be defining operational objectives as well. Remember that every company needs both strategic and financial objectives, regardless that either they are operating at small level or medium level or large level. The examples of financial objectives can be, number one, achieve revenue growth of 10% per year, increase earnings by 15% annually, increase dividends per share by 5% per year, increase net profit margins from 2% to 4%, attractive economic value added performance, stronger bond and credit ratings, a rising stock price, attractive increase in market value added, recognition as a blue chip company, a more diversified revenue base. So these can be the areas in which we have to set our financial objectives. And remember that your objective should always be SMART, which means specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time framed. If we talk about strategic objectives, so the areas in which we can set strategic objectives are a bigger market share, quicker design to market times than rivals, higher product quality than rivals. And mind you, these are all generic areas. There can be so many other aspects as well in which you can set objectives related to financial as well as strategic concerns. So higher product quality than rivals, lower costs relative to key competitors, broader product line than rivals, better e-commerce and internet sales capabilities than rivals, better customer service than rivals, recognition as a leader in technology, wider geographic coverage than rivals. So these can be the strategic aspects in which we have to set, again, SMART objectives. And those objectives, I repeat again, should always be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time framed. Now, objectives, as you know, they are having time frame. So they can also be categorized as short term, medium term, and long term. So when we say short term objectives, we are concerned with targets to be achieved soon, serves as stair steps for reaching long-term performance, and usually short-range objectives are covering the span of 1 year. When we say medium term, So that would mean something like 1 year to 3 years or so. And when we say long range objectives, so targets to be achieved within 3 to 5 years and onward, and prompt actions now that will permit reaching targets long range performance later. So that would mean that even we have to break the long range objectives into short range objectives, which is usually for 1 financial year. Sometimes organizations, they don't set objectives explicitly. So when they don't set objectives explicitly, what can be the options that they are following then? Those options are managing by extrapolation. It can be managing by crisis, managing by subjectives, and managing by hope. So these are the 4 categories of achievements when you don't set smart objectives. And let us define these areas one by one in detail in the next slide. Not managing by objectives can also be abbreviated as AKK, as I discussed with you in the earlier classes. The AKK is basically my own derived objective setting and strategy, and it stands for Allah Khair Kare. And the areas in which you can have the AKKs or not managing by objectives are: number 1, managing by extrapolation, which means adheres to the principle which says, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That means if the things are running fine, you don't need to worry about anything. The idea is to keep on doing about the same things in the same ways because things are going well, and that means AKK. Then there is managing by crisis, which means based on the belief that the true measure of really good strategist is the ability to solve problems. So you only move when there is some reaction to show, when there is some crisis. You only plan when there is some problem going on. And once the problem is solved, you might move back to managing by extrapolation. And that is more like reactionary management style rather than proactive style. Now, the third aspect can be managing by subjectives, which means build on the idea that there is no general plan for which way to go and what to do. Just do the best you can accomplish what you think should be done. And again, that is another interpretation of the AKK. And the fourth aspect can be managing by hope, which means based on the fact that the future is laden with great uncertainty, and that if we try and do not succeed, then we hope our second or third attempt will. And that is definitely another elaboration of what I call AKK. Now, moving towards more technical aspects of the business, we are going to start a very important topic, and that is balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard derives its name from the perceived need of firms to balance financial measures that are oftentimes used exclusively in strategy evaluation and control with non-financial measures such as product quality and customer service. And that is why it is known as balanced scorecard. And the word scorecard represents basically the calculations, the matrices, the quantitative measures through which we're going to plan for the business. So the balanced scorecard is a strategic planning and management system used to business activities, to the vision and strategy of the organization by monitoring performance against strategic goals. So that can be another expression with which we can define the balanced scorecard. And it is, again, as the statement is saying, derived from the organizational vision and mission, and then afterwards the strategy, and then you move along with strategy map towards the establishment of balanced scorecards. Now let's start its detail, that how scorecards are developed, what are the components we count in the development of calculations. The concept of balanced scorecard started back in year 1992 by Robert S. Kaplan and David P. Norton's work. So this article, first published in 1996, describes that how the balanced scorecard can help senior managers systematically link current action with tomorrow's goals. So that was the main concern of the article written by Kaplan and Norton. So this concept has given the managers a better understanding of how their companies are really doing, and obviously will be translating every business aspect into numerical concerns, matrices, calculations. And balanced scorecard was taken up as a performance measurement framework. Now let's start that how can we translate vision and strategy into 4 perspectives related to balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard model suggests that we view the organization from 4 perspectives. And those 4 perspectives are customers, internal business processes, learning and growth, and financial aspects. This is the visual demonstration of how balanced scorecard is developed. Let's start from the financial aspects. Financial aspects in balanced scorecard would mean, to succeed financially, how should we appear to our shareholders? And related to this concern, we have to develop financial objectives, financial measures, financial targets, and then obviously initiatives which we have to take related to the financial success, and obviously to maximize the wealth of the shareholders. Now, these financial concerns should be in association with vision and strategy, and obviously in association with internal business processes. And when we say internal business processes, we mean to satisfy our shareholders and customers. What business processes must we excel at? And when we are talking about business processes, we have to set quantitative objectives related to business processes, their achievement measures, the short-term targets, and obviously the initiatives which we have to take to improve upon our internal business processes. And our internal business processes would also be influenced by the vision and strategy of an organization, and they are also in association with learning and growth. And when we say learning and growth, we mean to achieve our vision. How will we sustain our ability to change and improve? So business sustainability would be discussed in learning and growth. And in relation with sustainability, we are concerned that how much we are valuable, how much we are rare, how much we are costly to imitate and organized or robust. So these are the 4 aspects which we have talked in the discussion related to resource-based view. And these are the main concerns which can provide organizations long-term survival and above average return, and the sustainability of competitive advantages. So these are all covered under the heading of learning and growth. And related to our learning and growth, again, we have to set objectives, measures, targets, and initiatives. Once learning and growth objectives, measures, targets, and initiatives are developed, they are also in association with our customers, and they are also derived from the vision and strategy of the organization. So when we talk about customers, we mean to achieve our vision. How should we appear to our customers? What can be the value proposition? How can we be operational with value-added services and value-added concerns? How can we go for value co-creations? So all the associations which we can think related to customers can be added in this category. And related to customers, again, we have to set objectives, measures, targets, and initiatives. And all these objectives, targets, measures, and associations, initiations related to finance, internal business process, learning and growth, and customer, they all should be synchronized and patronized and congruent. So these four processes which we have just gone through, when we are establishing the balanced scorecard, their flow can be that first of all, we have to translate the vision. When we say translating the vision, we mean to say clarifying the vision, communicating, sharing, and gaining consensus that everybody should be on the same page. Once we have translated the vision and shared vision, then the next step can be communicating and linking. And by that, we mean to say communicating and educating people that what to do, how to do, when to do, where to do, and why to do, obviously. Then setting goals. And we can adopt different procedures of setting goals. For example, it can be even management by objective procedures. And then in communicating and linking, we'll be concerned with linking rewards to performance measures, because obviously the people who will be performing good would be rewarded so that they can be positively reinforced. Once the vision is shared, translated, communicated, and linked with the goals, the next step can be business planning. And the business planning will be setting targets, aligning strategic initiatives in all the concerns, allocating resources for smooth running of the business, and establishing milestones. Once these milestones are being set, then the next step can be feedback and learning. And related to feedback and learning, we'll be articulating the shared vision, supplying strategic feedback, and facilitating strategy review and learning. And through that yearly process of feedback and learning, we'll be moving back to the vision, and then again communicating and linking and business planning. And these four aspects would always be in a cyclical motion, and the scorecard would be continuously developed every year after every periodic time, after every periodic time frame, and the progress and the performance of the business would be closely watched. When we say achieving long-term objectives through short-term actions, we are often talking about the linkage between short-term financial measures and long-term strategic objectives. But the relationship between short-term financial measures and long-term strategic objectives is weak. Because this weak linkage, the strategy implementation often is ineffective. Because of this weak linkage, strategy implementation often is ineffective. Because many a times, organizations just focus on short-term financial measures and they don't give a more detail, more concern, more depth to the long-term strategic objectives. To overcome this problem, using the balanced scorecard, companies can strengthen the linkage between long-term strategy and short-term tactics. And that is another benefit we can derive from this technique. There are some other benefits of balanced scorecard. The methodology facilitates communication and understanding of business goals and strategies at all levels of an organization. It enables executives to truly execute their strategies by identifying what should be done and measured. Now, if we conclude So far, the discussion of balanced scorecard, we can say that balanced scorecard can be used to clarify and update strategy, communicate strategy throughout the company, align unit and individual goals with the strategy, link strategic objectives to long-term targets, identify and align strategic initiatives, and another purpose for which we have to use scorecard is to conduct periodic performance reviews to learn about and improve strategy.